Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Austin here. To kick off 2025 on hopefully a high note, today I'm going to cover what I consider to be my best region thus far, the Greece-inspired Athnos region. As you can see by the title and the video length, we're doing things a bit differently here. For this region, I'm going to test out breaking it into parts, so hopefully I have more consistent uploads for y'all and less render time on my videos. So, I'm going to divide this region into 4 videos, covering a good section of the total Pokedex. Without further ado, let's begin. Faunflor, the Forest Flock Pokemon. Our grass starter of the region. I think this is probably my favorite first stage of the trio by a slim margin. Our little goat friend here has the most balanced colors overall, but the water starter does come close in that regard. These guys are super friendly for new trainers, but have a bad habit of headbutting them when excited. I love the autumn shinies for this entire line. Honestly, I just love it when Pokemon does fall colors for grass types in general. Something I actually need to do more often now that I think about it. Symphony, the grass whistle Pokemon. In this stage, we bring in the satyr elements in the line, standing this boy up, metaphorically anyway, more, and embracing nature more. I wanted this design to have a little bit of a hippie vibe with the shaggy hair and the leaf whistle, adding onto the newly added sound types with this Pokemon upon evolving. If I hadn't made the sound type a thing, this Pokemon would have been Grass Fairy, FYI. This pose took a few tries to get right, but I love how it came out in the end. All 3 middle stages are roughly even, but it wouldn't take much to convince me this was the best of the trio. Harmonager, the Forest Song Pokemon. Based on the big satyr himself, Pan, this goes full forest hermit / hippie, and I love it. The little dance he's doing as he runs through the forest looking to help people using the power of music. My favorite design element, and the one that took the longest time, was the Pan Flute Necklace. I really love the addition of blue to the color scheme here. It really helps break up the earthy color scheme a lot. I maybe could have made the horns a bit bigger, but that's not a deal breaker to me as they are now. I gave it triage since these Pokemon love to help people, and I thought that would be a good ability to have overall. Smokit, the Lonely Snake Pokemon. Our shy little noodle is my personal favorite of the base starters, but if you've watched enough of my videos by now, you'll know that I love snakes. This one was a lot of fun to design around. I knew I wanted to play around with the smoke with this starter as its main gimmick. The only thing I wish I had done was make the orange a bit more vibrant. It's a little muted saturation-wise. The purple eyes were a hint to the upcoming typing and to break up the warmer colors. Hydra's, the smoke decoy Pokemon. Now we're beginning to add in the Hydra element to the design along with it, the poison typing. We don't have a lot of fire poison types, and I thought that would be a fun Hydra starter. The smoke head took a few passes to get looking good, but it was worth it. I added the arms / legs onto the body to help transition into the final stage easier, and I don't think it would have changed enough otherwise. Slap a flame at the end of the tail and we are good to go. This is by a slim margin the weakest middle stage, but thankfully not by a lot. Toxkindra, the Toxic Tyrant Pokemon. No longer the shy noodle it once was, this Pokemon has gotten a toxic personality when fully evolving. I regret nothing with that pun. The head positions and expressions easily took the longest to nail down, not to mention those smoke snakes around the neck. I had the pink here to help sell the poison type more and to contrast against the rest of the color scheme. I had to give it Regenerator for the hidden ability. Nothing else would be as perfect. This was almost the first member of my in-game team, but I had to change it for type balancing. Ghosty, the Sea Foal Pokemon. The weakest first stage Pokemon. I think the eyes are the only thing I changed by the design here. Otherwise, I think it came out pretty well. I based this off of seahorses and various mythological horses. I made the hooves more fin-like in this stage to really sell the cuteness and to differentiate itself from Full Air. I tried to make the head fin shaped like a horse's mane and the back fin shaped like a wing to help transition into the other stages. Hydrocamp, the Sea Gallop Pokemon. I threw in some Hippocampus into the middle stage here, with this being more of a mermaid horse than a seahorse of the first stage. I gave it more of a tail, added the little fins at the base, made the front fins more into hooves, but the biggest change is obviously on the back, with the fin looking a lot more like a proper wing. Now, thanks to the flying typing, they can glide for a long time after shooting out of the water at top speed. Okay, the flying type really just makes more sense with the final evolution, bear with me here. Pegasi, the Ocean Champion Pokemon. As many of you could guess, the final evolution here goes full Pegasus, if just to tie into the history with Poseidon when it comes to Pegasus. While I almost went with Toxkendra as my starter, this is my favorite of the final evolutions. Everything came out so well. I wouldn't change a thing about it, outside of just my rendering style across the board. I love the water droplet decorations across the body to break things up and to add some visual flair. I gave it Lightning Rod as the hidden ability to deal with its pesky electric weakness. This might be my best water starter to date, and as such, is the first member of my endgame team. Markwire, the Cable Cutter Pokemon. One of the few non-Greek mythology-based Pokemon in the region, the Route 1 normal type here is based off of martens and their habit of chewing through wires in modern environments. I love this little menace of a fur noodle so much. The only thing I would change are the feet. I don't love the shape of them. I modeled the tail after wire cutter, something they use to cut through power lines and absorb the energy inside. Martazap, the False Stone Pokemon. I modeled the evolution here to develop rock-like textures and patterns to reference real-life martens, doing that to camouflage better. This Pokemon will lie in wait for their preferred food, the Pika clone of the region. More experienced members of this species will drain them almost dry, so they can recover later to act as a constant food source for them in the long term. The only thing I would change here is the placement of the foot in front. I need to make it a little bit more front-facing for balance. I also really like the shiny with this one. I think it came out great. Liar Sect, the Instrument Pokemon. The Route 1 bug of the region, this Pokemon is actually a new addition to the region itself, appearing out of the blue after the sound type wave washed over the planet. This whole line is based off of different instruments as well as cicadas as a whole. This one being based off of a lyre. Lyre? Don't know how to pronounce that. Anywho, the perspective on the thorax took a little while to iron out, but it turned out really well. I love this happy little man, even if they do play their music into the early hours of the morning. Insectrament, the Instrument Pokemon. The middle stage here is easily the simplest design-wise. Granted, that's all Cocoon Pokemon. This is based off the Cretan Lyra. They use the hook up top of their heads to hang on to branches, swinging off of them in case necessary to escape. There isn't a whole lot to say about this design. It turned out pretty well, and I really wouldn't change anything. The shinies across the board for this line are clean. Flithcada, the Instrument Pokemon. The final evolution for the line, this is based on a Kithara. I modeled the torso after the instrument, with the holes in the instrument translating to where the wings would go here. I made the antenna and legs shaped like musical notes, and overall, it turned out pretty great. These things host a yearly concert to reference the Great Cicada Awakening. This event brings a lot of tourists to the region. Akilet, the Falconry Pokemon. Our Route 1 bird, this tiny little man, is based on golden eagles and Mongolian falconers. I don't remember the exact reason I chose to base it off of Mongolian culture, outside of the fact that both the ancient Greeks and Mongols practiced falconry predominantly. I think I just wanted a more interesting secondary design concept. Either way, I really love the colors used here, mainly the blue and red. That will continue out through the entire evolutionary line. The only thing I would change with this design is moving the red feather more towards the center of its face. Otherwise, good birdie. Raptorier, the Sky Hunter Pokemon. The middle stage here is definitely the weakest of the trio, mainly because I think it needed to be more at a 3/4 angle to show off the body. There isn't a lot wrong with the design, but the other two feel more Pokemon-y, for lack of a better term. Aside of a pose change, I'm not sure what else I could have changed that really needs fixing. Well, I'll figure that out eventually when I reboot this region in a few years. I know there's a typo in the Dex entry. I can't fix it since the original file got corrupted, and I lost damn near everything after I finished the line. Griffinel, the Falconry Pokemon. The final evolution of the line, we have gone full Griffin with the design. It's also another design that could benefit from being more of a 3/4 view, if just with the torso. That aside, I think this is one of the strongest Route 1 flying type designs I've ever done. I love the colors, I think the proportions really work well for this design and has a very good silhouette. I might replace sharpness when I eventually redraw this in the future. I think there are better abilities for this Pokemon. Oh, I also need to give it a different classification because it feels weird having 2 out of the 3 have the exact same one. Anyway, Athnosian Wooloo, the sheep Pokemon. The first regional variant of the Athnos region. This little puffball is based on the Golden Fleece from the Odyssey and Chios sheep. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think the overall design is pretty good, but I really need to re-render the metal wool and redraw the tassels. I don't like how the ends came out. I gave it good as gold to reference the Golden Fleece's royal nature and status. Plus, it was too good an opportunity to pass up to use the ability. Aramu, the Golden Fleece Pokemon. Now throwing in some RAM aspects of the design, this regional evolution is damn near perfect for what I wanted. I can't think of anything, outside of re-rendering the wool, that I would seriously change. The color balance is solid, the pose is serviceable, and the design itself works. I love the little bell on the front of the chest. I imagine it can channel its psychic power through it. I also really like the shine here, mainly because of that shade of blue. Harpouty, the Ice Bully Pokemon. These little devils are obviously based off of harpies. I threw in some Yuki Onna in the design as well. Sorry, Frostlass. I think the perspective of the front-facing leg and foot needs some readjusting, but otherwise, no complaints for this design. Though the wings are a little odd, but I wanted to do something different with the wing shape, so I do like the overall vibe there. I could use a touch-up, admittingly. My favorite thing about the design is the face, with the head, crest, and feathers. I think it creates a really good silhouette. Savage Snow was created to really give the ice type some much-needed power, even if Scarlet and Violet did do a good job buffing it so far. Harperil, the Cruel Snow Pokemon. I mainly wanted to get the vibe across that this Pokemon was laughing at its opponent's suffering, and I think that comes across pretty well with the shit-eating grin and the wing covering the mouth. I made the head crest bigger going down to the lower back, and making it more ornate with the white tips, mainly just for color balancing. I added the diamond pattern on the wings to give it the design some more oomph. I do think I could have made the back part of the head crest longer and turned them into the tail feathers. Otherwise, this design is perfect to me. Narcissofowl, the Vane Bird Pokemon. Fun fact with this Pokemon, this was originally part of a fan game I was a part of, but got scrapped because of how bad the original design I submitted was, and for overall dex balancing. Yeah, as you can see, the design was rough, to say the least. This Vane Bird is based off of Narcissus, a man who fell in love with his own reflection, according to Greek myth. This Pokemon creates water mirrors on the inside of its wings so it can always look at itself. I love the slick back feather/hair, the dark purple of the design, and the loose sandal design on the feet. I gave it Oblivious for obvious reasons. This is such a major glow-up. Nezunemu, the Tuckered Out Pokemon. The Pika clone of the region, this eepy little man, is based on Dormice and Sleepy Kids. This and Napbat would be best friends. I designed this Pokemon to look like it's wearing a full-body onesie with a sleep mask across the face. The lightning bolt-shaped hair and the inside of the ears were done to create some visual flair, and a little mark on the chest is supposed to look like a zipper to play into the onesie theme, and just to break up the colors. Nezun Yume, the Dreaming Mouse Pokemon. Our Sleepy Mans is now based off of the Greek god of sleep, Morpheus. I gave it a nightcap that responds to its psychic powers, often moving on its own, which I imagine would be a really fun animation in an actual game. I wanted it to hold onto its tail like a safety blanket or pillow because I thought that would make for a more interesting design, and because it's just cute. The blanket it's wearing is made from a special flower that produces sleep-inducing pollen, which is where the main ability comes into play here. I thought this would be a fun, but very annoying ability, being the sleep version of Flame Body and the like. This is easily my best Pika clone in my catalog. Lemme, the Shy Snake Pokemon. The 3-stage rock type of the region, I went with something different this time around. This stage is based off of Alamia. My fellow weebs already know what that is, but for those who don't, here's a picture. They're terribly shy and hide under the rocks they wear as hats. Their hair covering their eyes so they never have to look at people. I love the pattern across the body here, breaking up the black and gray. I really love the quivering mouth. I think it really sells the personality and adds onto the cute factor. This also has a clean-ass shiny. Petroshy, the bashful Pokemon. Now adding in the Gorgon aspects I suspect all of you saw coming, this Pokemon is beginning to break out of its shell, peeking out here and there, but for the most part relying on their snake hair to be their eyes. I love the snakes trying to console the main body. I had a lot of fun doing that. I think it added a lot of character to the Pokemon. Evolution-wise, I added the dark green from the snakes to the stomach to break up the colors, and I gave it bigger and more defined hands. This is easily my favorite rock-type line, and we're not even finished yet. Medustone, the petrifying Pokemon. Give your Petroshy a Sludge Stone, and this sassy Pokemon is born. Now going full Medusa, it becomes a rock poison type. This Pokemon loses its previous shy demeanor and is now fully confident in itself, evident by the pose and expression here. I wanted to keep some of the silliness from the previous stages, so I had 2 of the snakes sleeping on her shoulders. I made the patterns on the body more complex, made the snakes more aggressive, and I fully exposed the face for all to see. Medusa's ability to turn others to stone is referenced by the ability here, basically acting like the speed version of Intimidate. In universe though, this only happens when it opens both of its eyes. That's why it has one eye closed in the official art here. I really wanted to put this on my team, but it didn't work out, sadly. Farmaze, the Tilling Pokemon. The early grass type of the region, this stage is based on corn and farmers. I made the corn shulk into a large hat to really give this Pokemon some contrast proportion-wise, and I thought it was funny. I was iffy on the stick initially, but I think it adds to the farmer aesthetic and gives the Pokemon a means to attack. The only thing I would change here is to connect the legs more to the body by removing the lines separating them here. This Pokemon actually taught the people of the region how to farm, so they are very, very revered there. Dimatera, the crop Pokemon. Switching from corn to wheat when it evolves, Dimatera was really fun to design. Obviously, this is now based off of the goddess Demeter. I wanted this Pokemon to really be connected to nature. I gave it the wooden hose on its arms to give it a means of doing its job easier, and to pummel any flying types that get close. Plus, I think it just adds more to the silhouette. I love the wheat hair and the straw hat in this Pokemon, combined with the flowy grass skirt. I think it really forms a strong character. No notes. Atlasect, the Stone Weight Pokemon. The first cross-gen evolution of the region. You get this bad boy when you expose your Heracross to a combat stone. I based this absolute unit off of the Legend of Atlas. If I was too subtle with literally everything about this Pokemon. Legit, the only issue I have with this design is the rock itself. I don't think it looks/sits right on the back, and it definitely needed another pass. The feet positioning could also use an update. Otherwise, I think this is an amazing evolution. Like I do with every Pokemon that can Mega Evolve, I threw in a bit of Mega Evolution into their proper evolution. Granted, this is mainly contained to the arms, with the massive forearms. Quality evolution. Gouliator, the Ghost Pincer Pokemon. Slap an Ectostone on your Pincer and you get this ghostly gladiator on your team. I modeled the head after a gladiator helmet, and I modeled the wing covers after shields. I turned these spikes on the pincer into ectoplasm along with the wings and headdress to really capture the eye. Fun fact, I actually put an Ectostone and Combat Stone on this Pokemon and Atlasect if you look close enough. As for the elements from Mega Pincer, I kept the general vibe of their eyes and the strange attachments on their arms. Granted, I turned them into blades with this design. It's not as good as Atlasect, but a fun evolution nonetheless. Ferroshell, the Burning Egg Pokemon. The first of 3 Convergent lines in this region. This Convergent Ferroseed is based on Phoenix eggs. I turned the spikes from the original design into bursts of flames jutting out of the egg. The only thing that needs to change is the render on the flame spikes themselves. Granted, that's a big change, but a relatively simple one now. I really like how it came out overall. I gave it iron-rich diet to play into them eating metal to reinforce their shells, and for the final evolution to have some wiggle room. You'll see what I mean. Pharaoh-Nest, the Fire Nest Pokemon. This was modeled after Bird's Nest and Phoenix's. The legs of the original design are now flaming wings and a tail erupting out of the nest. I thought that was a pretty clever way to use that design element from Ferrothorn. This Pokemon will store Pharaoh Shell in their bodies and keep them safe and warm until they're ready to evolve. Clean ass shiny, if I do say so myself. Normally I would say this is a lackluster Convergent design to end off for the line, but it goes a step further. Pharaoh-Nest, the Undying Flame Pokemon. The evolved form of Pharaoh-Nest, once exposed to a Firestone, it breaks free from the stone nest containing its body and is free to soar. I love this Pokemon so much. This is one of my favorite Convergent evolutions in my catalog. It needs to be more at a 3/4 view, but it's still a peak design in my opinion. I love the flaming tail and the flames in between the giant feathers on the wings. The gradient on the feathers is rough, that'll need to change for sure, but that aside, this is one of the best designs of the entire region. Gorant, the Thunder Tusk Pokemon. This Raging Piggy is based on the Aramanthian Boar. I knew this Pokemon was going to be a fighting type of some variety, and I chose to make it electric so I could play with the tusk shape, and I needed electric types as a whole. The only thing I think I need to change is to re-render the energy mane and tail. The red could also stand to be a bit brighter as a whole. This is one of the better designs of the region. We're not entirely done with this Pokemon. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in another part. Desertile, the Sand Lizard Pokemon. One of the very few Pokemon in my catalog with a noticeable gender difference. These are based on sand lizards. Another of the very few non-mythology based lines in the region. I made the males more vibrant and flamboyant to help it attract mates easier, something that male sand lizards and many other species do. Whereas the females are more earthy and desaturated to help them blend in better to their environment to prevent predators from seeing them or their young. Aside from their colors, I also made the tails slightly different to make them more unique silhouette-wise. Good designs overall for both of them. Silacrush, the Vibrant Beast Pokemon. The evolved form of male Desertile. This Pokemon isn't based on anything in particular, I just wanted to draw a generic dinosaur monster. I made it a ground fighting type to play into the constant territorial battles they have daily with each other and different species. I still want it to be more vibrant color-wise, but have a darker base for the body. I I may need a quadruped to differentiate it from the female evolution more. As far as changes needed, I need to make the back and tail more flush together, and redo the perspective on the front arm, mainly in the claws. Naturally, I had to give it rivalry for the hidden ability. Sand Death, the Grim Lizard Pokemon. The evolved form of female Desertile, this is based off of the Grim Reaper and lizards losing their tails. I thought the Scythe/Ectoplasm tail would be a fun centerpiece to design the Pokemon around, and it really was. The pose and perspective on the legs took the longest to nail down. Nothing looked good for the longest time. Oh my god. I made the pattern along the body look like very simplified bones, mainly along the spine there. In terms of changes needed, I think the pupil could stand to be bigger, and that's about it, really. Of the two, this is my favorite. Granted, it's a ghost type, so it's not that hard. Minotauros, the wild bull Pokemon. The evolved form of Tauros once it uses Bulk Up 5 times in one battle without getting knocked out. The basis for this evolution should be obvious. Well, on the off chance you know diddly about Greek mythology, you poor soul, this is based on the Minotaur. This is a middle-of-the-pack evolution for this region. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's kind of what you would expect when you hear Minotaur evolution for Tauros. Minus the red hair, probably. I need to fix the hand and the back, mainly to show off more of the palm and maybe reposition the design into something more interesting. But there's nothing that actually changed about the design itself. Ambrosia, the nectar Pokemon. Based on Greek honeybees and ambrosia, this is a solid Pokemon all around. My favorite thing here is obviously the literal beehive hair and the honey flowing out of it. I think it creates a really fun silhouette. As far as changes, I think adding more fuzz across the body, maybe on the waist, for an easier transition into the thorax. The honey created by this Pokemon would be an in-game potion option, healing your Pokemon to about half health and removing statuses. Basili, the Dragon Bird Pokemon. The second Convergent line of the region, we revisit Kanto with this Pokemon as this Convergent Pidgey is based off of basilisks. I really wanted to do a Basiliskmon, and Pidgey needed some love, so I thought a Convergent line would be a fun way to do that, versus making it a regional variant where I have to figure out why they changed. In terms of the design, I think this is the most successful. The others have small issues that hold them back, but this one doesn't. I am debating changing the shinies across the board to look more like their Convergent counterparts. I might do that in the future. Basiloto, the Dragon Bird Pokemon. We're throwing in a bit of a cockatrice into this design, the two mythological animals having some overlap. Biggest issue at the gate that needs to be fixed is making the foot facing the camera a lot bigger to be more in line with the one in the back. I might change the tail spike at the end shape-wise, still debating that one. I also might change the eye color potentially. Otherwise, this is still a very successful design in my opinion. Basilot, the Dragon Bird Pokemon. I think the wings need a bit of love in the next pass of the design. They look a bit off in my opinion. Same with the legs and feet. The wing in the back is way off now that I look at it again. Still, this is one of the strongest Convergent Pokemon I've ever done, and I am overall happy with how it turned out. Another pass will iron out the kinks of the design and make it peak. Mervanity, the arrogant fish Pokemon. One of the 2 mermaid Pokemon of the region, this little lady is a vain attention hog, loving all the adoration they get from people. I wanted this Pokemon to feel conceited with its expression. It knows it's the best, and it flaunts it. I love the giant hair here. I think it really helps sell the character and the silhouette. The shell up front was added to break up the colors and invoke classic Little Mermaid vibes of the design. The evolution isn't what you'd expect, and I had so much fun with it. Mermanity, the sea cow Pokemon. Didn't expect that, did ya? Slap a leaf stone on your Mervanity and you get this plus-sized icon. This is based on manatees being confused by mermaids by ancient sailors. The kelp hair, the expression, the pose, they're all perfect in my opinion. This is easily the funniest design in the entire region, and I wouldn't change a damn thing about it. If you can, read the Pokedex entry for this one. It makes me laugh every single time. With that, we end part 1 of the region breakdown here. We have a very strong start to the region with these Pokemon, with only a few minor things I change here and there, but nothing major, thankfully. I'm already at work on the other parts of this breakdown series, so that should be out soonish. Down below, let me know what starter you chose and what your favorite Pokemon is thus far. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe to stay up to date with this series and more. I have my socials in the description if you want to follow me there for updates. For now, this is Austin, signing out.